beer, basketball, and high-calorie foods make you grow. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, I don't know if you were at Karen from Tension's talk earlier, but I'll actually be using a lot of Tension case studies that we worked together on, so it kind of works out that she spoke before me. And also, my boss is in the back corner, so if you can please applaud after every slide, that'll help me look good. So whose primary role at their company revolves around SEO? Show of hands. Cool, very few. Perfect. That's what I wanted. This is for SEO basics, so I'll walk you through what SEO is really quickly. Here's the definition from Wikipedia. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is the process of affecting the online visibility of a website or a web page in a web search engine's unpaid results, often referred to as natural, organic, or earned. So let's break this down a little bit. Affecting the online visibility of a website. This means increasing your rankings or increasing how you're displayed in the search results, like quick answers or product information displaying directly in the search results. And then they bring up search engines' unpaid results, natural, organic, and earned. So let's break down what those are. Here's a classic search results page for number 10 envelopes. Everything in the red box is paid, it's pay to play. Everything in the green box is organic. It's free besides the blood, sweat, and tears of SEOs. But it's there because Google believes that these results will most satisfy the reason why that user typed in that search query. So let's break down the results a little more. Up top you have the paid shopping ads, just a bunch of envelopes, probably something people are looking for when they type in number 10 envelopes. Below that is just another classic paid ad. And then comes your first organic result from Staples, just 500 number 10 envelopes. Also probably what most people are searching for when they type in number 10 envelopes. But then comes the people also ask box. So think about the query number 10 envelopes. It's fairly vague. So Google's trying to get a little more intent behind the search here. So what do you want about number 10 envelopes? Are you wondering what they are? Are you wondering what the size is? And so on. They're just trying to get a little more of what are you actually looking for? And then below that is more organic results. And literally just below the fold is a Tension envelope blog. How big are number 10 envelopes? And literally just below the fold, ranking number 2. Well, technically number 2, but really what's ranking organically number 2? Because you have the number 1 true is the paid shopping ad, the number 2 true is the other paid ad, and then the number 1 organic result, really 3, so then the Tension blog would be 4, unless you even count all those questions up there, it would be like 5, 6, 7, so the blog's really 8. Karen, if you're in here, I'm still gonna be reporting you're ranking number 2 organically, but this is why it's getting more and more crucial to rank higher and affect your visibility in search results because the results page is getting more and more crowded. So to recap, everything up top, pay to play, everything down below is organic, free, and it's there because Google believes it's satisfying the user's intent. That's why I really like Moz's SEO definition, because they bring up increasing the quantity and quality of your traffic, meaning you're driving the right traffic to your website through organic search. Which then brings us to our SEO philosophy, which is really just the best of the two. SEO is the practice of driving more qualified traffic to your site by optimizing the visibility in organic search engine results. All right, I know what you're thinking. What's the point of this? We're all marketing automation specialists. We're not really focused on SEO. What is this, college gen eds? And I see Centric Training over there, so shout out to Centric Training. Why go to college and take a bunch of gen eds when you can go to Centric Training? But anyways, back to the point. So what is the point of this? SEO is, as we speak, impacting the way your marketing automation performs. So we're going to break it down. So how can SEO boost your marketing automation efforts? You can build leads and lists through qualified organic traffic. You can utilize your existing organic data to optimize your conversion points. And keyword research is not just for SEOs. Use keyword research to send targeted content to your specific lists. We'll walk through each of these. Starting with building leads and lists through qualified organic traffic. Organic search and marketing automation are the perfect duo. Organic search drives leads to announce themselves, and then you follow that up with a great nurturing experience through marketing automation. So how do you optimize your site for organic search? We could talk about this all day and barely scratch the surface, but I'll give you a bunch of quick hits. We'll fly through these. We've got like 140 slides to burn through here. But hopefully you are working with an SEO agency, or maybe you have an SEO person on site that having all this information in your back pocket will just help you be able to dive deeper and collaborate with them better. So we'll break it down into 3 parts: on-page SEO, off-page SEO, and technical SEO. So are you guys ready to learn a ridiculous amount of SEO tactics in a ridiculously short period of time? Let's do it. Starting with on-page SEO. So this is about optimizing the source code of your web pages to help search engines and users better understand your content. Hey, content, who would have thought that's a major on-page SEO factor? There's a lot to the content strategy of SEO, but at its root, it's all about finding your targeted, like the right keywords, and then figuring out why are users searching this? What are they looking for? What can you offer them? And make your content satisfy their needs. And it's not just about the copy on your web pages, it's about how that content's structured. Something we've been seeing climb through the rankings lately, a certain type of content structure, comes from the classic journalism inverted pyramid. And how that works is you immediately satisfy like the intent, and then you add your supporting details. So if it's how big is a number 10 envelope, answer that question immediately, and then add supporting information, related topic information, and related questions. Metadata, there's a lot of different meta tags, but in this particular situation, we're talking about page titles and meta descriptions. So if you think back to the search results page, page title, the big blue text, the meta description, the little black text. And these are your suggestions to Google. At the end of the day, Google shows whatever they want to show, but these are kind of your suggestions. Page title, it's a ranking factor, include relevant targeted keywords, and it should briefly describe the page to search engines and users. Your meta description, while it doesn't impact rankings at all, it does impact click-through rate from the search results page. So write a description that obviously describes the page, but it's also enticing to the user to want to learn more and click through to your site. Next up, URLs. Similar to your page titles, it's a ranking factor, include targeted keywords separated by hyphens, and it should follow a consistent format. So whether you use non-www or www, or whether you use a trailing backslash or a non-trailing backslash, be consistent throughout. And your site should be secure at this point, so use HTTPS and use lowercase letters. And your URL should follow a category hierarchy, which we'll get more into on the technical side. Image alt text. So when search engine crawlers find your images, they can't truly read what's on the image. So you provide alternative text to describe the image to search engines. And you can also include an image title just to provide additional context about the image. And alt text is another way to remain ADA compliant. So Americans with Disabilities Act. Somebody with visual impairments using your site, they may be using a screen reader, and the screen reader will read the alternative text to the user with the visual disabilities. All right, we're learning a lot, but let's keep going. Heading tags. These are just hierarchy of tags from H1 to H6 that you use to showcase what your main headline is and then your various subheadings. You should be using headings for both search engines and users just to highlight the main topics of your page. Search engines look at this, and obviously it really helps with user experience. Internal linking, helping users and search engines crawl through your site. Internal links are a way to pass ranking potential from one page to another. I'll give you an example with tension later. And it helps establish an information hierarchy by internally linking related topics to one another. And your links should include relevant targeted keywords in the anchor text, which that's the text that holds the link. So that way search engines get a better understanding of the context of the page that's being linked. All right, we now know on-page SEO. So let's move on to off-page SEO. Off-page SEO is everything you do that's off your site that can still impact how you appear in search engines. Link building's the big one here. You may have probably heard of this. Backlinks, when another domain links to your website, that kind of acts as a vote of approval in Google's mind. So think of it, if this site trusts this other site enough to send their users to you, then Google then increases their trust in you. Site and business listings. Make sure your site is listed in all relevant directories. I think I see the Yex guy over there, so he can tell you all about this. But a big one being your Google My Business. This is what you see in the right panel of Google search results, like common with local businesses. Yelp is another big one. Make sure you're listed in Yelp. And any relevant directory in your industry. There's tons of directories for every industry. So what these do is they help establish additional context about your website and business for Google, and it helps like legitimize your business in Google's mind. All right, social media. Some SEOs claim that social media engagement metrics like likes on Facebook, shares on Twitter, etc., actually are a ranking factor for Google. But they're totally wrong. If you've heard that, wipe that out of your mind. That's correlation and not causation. Correlation because obviously quality content's going to do well on social media, quality content's going to do well on organic search. Those are a correlation, but they don't cause each other. But what social media is good at, it's great at getting more eyes on your content and more eyes on your brand, which can result in more backlinks and more high quality branded searches. Guest posts. That's when you hit up a relevant industry blog and ask to create a post on their website. So this is commonly used as a backlink tactic or link building tactic, but it has the same benefits like social media. It's bringing eyes to your content, bringing eyes to your brand, which then results in more backlinks and more branded searches. All right. Forum participation, so going to relevant industry forums or even subreddits and just relevantly answering users' questions. It's another way to develop backlinks, but it's not quite as good as guest posts. And just like social media, it's all about getting eyes on your content, eyes on your brand, backlinks, branded searches. But be careful doing forum participation. Users and mods can sniff like spam and markety crap from a mile away, so make sure you're truly being relevant when you answer people's questions. Pretty basic, but search engine submissions. Make sure your website's submitted in Google Search Console and Bing Webmaster Tools. The big thing being, if you have like a new piece of content, you can immediately tell Google and Bing to go ahead and crawl and index this page. And there's also a lot of relevant search data in here. All right, we know off-page SEO. Moving on to technical. I'm gonna get a drink of Sprite, my throat is going. All right. Technical SEO is all about optimizing how search engines crawl and understand your content, a little more behind the scenes than on-page SEO. So your site architecture and crawlability, helping make sure search engines can crawl through your site and establishing a category hierarchy. So what I mean by this is, let's say you have a site about alcohol, and you would have a folder beers and then pale ales, a folder beers, stouts, a folder wine, red, Chardonnay. I think Chardonnay is a red wine. I honestly don't know. That's just like one of the few wines I've heard of. But anyway, so it's about establishing that like additional context. Is it white? It's white. Oh shit. Okay, whatever. But it's all about establishing that hierarchy. So if you just had / Boulevard Pale Ale right from the root domain, or just / Yellowtail Chardonnay, it is not establishing like the same context of having that category hierarchy. And also orphan pages, this is when a page exists on your website, but it's never internally linked through your site structure. Odds are Google isn't going to find this, and if they do, they find it through like another means on your website. It's likely not going to rank well. So if you have a high priority page, make sure it's linked from your site architecture. XML sitemap, this is just where you list all the URLs you want search engines crawling and indexing your content. It just kind of acts as a crawler map. Robots.txt, if the sitemap is a map for your crawlers, the robots.txt file is a set of instructions for your crawlers. This is where you tell search engines, don't waste your time crawling this folder, don't waste your time crawling this page. Middle robots no index tag, you place this tag on any page that you do not want search engines indexing. So think of a page where you wouldn't want people entering organically. Commonly, this is found on ebook download pages because you want people to fill out the form before they enter to that page. And keep in mind, you want crawlers to see this tag, so do not put it in your robots file. Do not block it in the robots file because you want crawlers to crawl this page, see the tag, and remove it from their index. Intense learning, we can make it. We're almost there. All right, 301 redirects. This is when you pass as much page authority as possible that another page has built up through time onto another page. So commonly this is found if you remove a page. So if you have a high priority page like changing locations, make sure 301 redirects to the new location so that new location can get as much of that potential that that old page had built up through time. Duplicate content's another big one. If you have the same exact content living at two different locations, make sure you 301 redirect one location to another, the one location that you actually want ranking in the search engines. And the URL formats we talked about earlier, the non-dub versus dub, trailing backslash versus non-HTTPS versus non-HTTPS, and the trailing backslash, or lowercase and capital, make sure you 301 redirect all other URL formats to your one primary format. So that way you're not diluting your ranking potential among two different locations. Canonical tags. Kind of similar to 301 redirects, but it keeps the old page live. So if there's ever a reason you want duplicate content truly existing at two different locations, make sure there's a canonical tag in place pointing to one location, so you're not diluting your ranking potential among two different locations. Status codes. These tell search engines the status of your page. 200, hey, okay, it's live. 301, it's been permanently moved. And then 404, this content does not exist. So what I see commonly misused, people have custom 404 pages, which is a great user experience, that's what you should be doing. But often these custom 404 pages give off a 200 status. So you're essentially telling Google, hey, this page that doesn't actually exist, I'm glad you arrived, you should index it. And then you have a potential infinite amount of other pages that you're telling Google, hey, this is great, index it. And so basically you're just adding on a bunch of crap to Google and they're lessening their opinion of you. All right, just a few more. All right, replacing broken resources. Make sure that you're not leading users and search engines to broken links, broken images. Obviously that's a bad user experience. Check on old pages that are still doing well, but maybe something's been changed in the past that you may have overlooked. Schema Markup. This is code added behind the scenes that helps search engines better understand the context of your content. So this can help you rank a little higher and give you search display benefits like imagery, product information, or ratings appearing directly in the search results. All right, last step, just a few more slides. All right, page speed, great user experience, ranking factor. Make sure your site loads quickly. Site security, great user experience, ranking factor. Make sure your site's secure. Mobile friendliness, great experience, ranking factor. Make sure your site loads, or make sure your site is mobile friendly. All right, we made it through all of the SEO factors. All the SEO factors of this. So, how did Tension implement all of these? All right. Remember that number 10 envelope cert from earlier with the blog post ranking just below the foothold, totally ranking number 2? Let's use that as an example. Here's their weekly organic entries over the last 32 weeks. I blinded the actual numbers, but you can see the trend. So weeks 1 through 15, it was a pretty decent blog post. It had a little too much fluff at the beginning and a little too much branded content, branded focused content, but it was still doing pretty well. It ranked middle of page 1 for low, medium volume searches, but had a clear intent, like how big is a number 10 envelope. But it was ranking bottom of page 1 and top of page 2 for high volume searches, but a little less intent, like number 10 envelopes. So what we did is we just, we did like the inverted pyramid. We immediately answered the number, how big is the number 10 envelope question. We stole several answer boxes and traffic just skyrocketed. We also did a lot of the other on-page factors we talked about, like updating metadata, image information, and we also added a lot of supporting content right after like that initial answer, turning it into a more of a everything you need to know about number 10 envelopes. So for those high volume searches but low intent, if you provide all the answers to everything, if you're like the one-stop resource for number 10 envelopes, Google trusts you to place you higher in the search results because Google may not know the intent, but they know you're satisfying just about every intent possible for number 10 envelopes. We also internally linked to other pages we wanted to rank higher, and I'll show you an example of that coming up later in this deck. So what did this do for Tension? It increased their industry-specific traffic. It increased their quality brand engagements with very specific industry audience, and it increased traffic diving deeper into their site through the internal links we added. So think about your website. What pages are on the cusp of good to great for you? What pages are ranking bottom of page 1, top of page 2 for high volume searches? Are there new pages you could create to answer questions your audience may be asking? And then what can you do to drive leads to announce themselves? So this brings us to the end of the first point. Moving on to utilizing your existing organic data to optimize conversion points. You're already sitting on a pile of valuable organic data. Utilize that data to help start driving leads. How to do this? A great starting point is looking at your pages that have high organic traffic, but then has a high bounce rate as well. So users are entering this page, but then immediately, they could still be engaging with the content, but then they leave without hitting any other pages on your website. All right, quick rant time. All right, a lot of digital marketers sound like Waterboy's mom right here. A high bounce rate is the devil. No, a high bounce rate is not the devil. So here, let me give you an example. You're looking up lasagna recipes. You search for lasagna recipes, you hit one of the top 3 results, you're scrolling through, hey, this looks good, this looks easy enough for me to make without screwing up. Here's the ingredients. You know you want to make it at this point, so you're writing down the ingredients on your shopping list. You write down all the ingredients, and then what do? You bounce. How evil of you. That was a terrible experience. That website was terrible. That marketing team's terrible. No, nothing was terrible about that experience. Yes, they bounced, but it wasn't terrible. The user had a great experience. I'm more likely to engage with that brand in the future because I had a great experience. Everybody's needs were met. All right, so rant over. But still, looking at your organic data to optimize for conversion points, a good starting out point is still looking at your organic traffic and looking at high bounce rate. It's not the devil. It was a good experience, but it could be great. So think about how that worked out. A user searches, you provide the best answer, so you're ranking highly. They enter through your site, they're satisfied with what they found, and they bounce. Good experience, but it could be great. So when users continuously bounce, what do you want to do? You want to, 1, naturally send users to high converting pages, or 2, create a new offer custom built for that audience that has high traffic. So let's talk about naturally sending users to a high converting page. And let's use the lasagna recipe. So what if that recipe site knew they had a 25% chance of converting you if they brought you to a coupon page? So how that would work is I would probably add a button saying save 50 cents on canned tomatoes or something like that right by the ingredients, and probably a strategically placed link to a coupons page by the ingredients. So that way they can try to drive you to the coupons page where you have a 25% chance of giving up your personal information to save 50 cents. And then how did Tension do this? We had to get a little creative, but we noticed the other competing pages in that number 10 envelopes blog, they were all sending their users to a certain page type that Tension didn't have. So what did? We just created that page type. And we internally linked to it from that high authority blog, so you can see when the page was created and when the internal link was added. And this is just weekly organic entries. Page views also skyrocketed once we added that link, but I wanted to showcase that this is just organic entries because we added that link from a high authority page, passing some of that ranking potential to this other page that we wanted to drive a lot of traffic to. In turn, Google saw that link and started boosting up this deeper page. So make sure you're internally linking to pages that you have that you really want to prioritize. Or instead of sending them to a new location, you could just create a new offer that's custom built for that audience and place it on that high traffic page. So when we were sitting down together with Tension, we just looked at all of our high organic traffic pages and thought to ourselves, what are these users looking for? What do we want from these users? And what could we offer them that would be enticing to the user? So for that number 10 envelopes page, we noticed that most of the users were coming in from searches about number 10 envelope size, like number 10 envelope size, how big is a number 10 envelope, etc. So we know they're interested in the size. What do we want these users to do? Give up their email address. So what are we offering them? Tension's in the process of creating an envelope size cheat sheet that we can place on that page that'll include all like the most popular envelopes and all of their dimensions. Another cool example that we did, Tension has a lot of blogs that are about like envelope industry basics. So they have a blog about like the paper of envelopes. They have blogs about the windows of envelopes. They have blogs about measuring envelopes, like a ton of basic industry information blogs that are all receiving a lot of organic traffic, receiving a lot of bounces, and also receiving a lot of return visits. And so what do we want from them? To give up their email address. And so what's Tension working on right now to offer this specific audience? They're developing an envelope basic ebook that's combining all of those high performing, high bounce, and high return rate blogs into one ebook that will just like sit on their desk, and it'll be awesome. Like they'll just have all the information they need there that they keep coming back to. And especially in a B2B environment where there's multiple people you have to convince, and a lot of like long brought out decisions bringing in that return traffic, they just have that relevant ebook sitting there. So what about your top organic entry pages? What are your users looking for? What do you want from them? And then what can you offer them that would be enticing? All right, that brings us to the end of point 2. Point 3 being keyword research is not just for SEOs. Use keyword research to send targeted content to your specific list. Hat tip to my friend and former colleague, Tyler Hermanson, who recently gave a presentation just purely about this section at a recent KCDMA event and also a WordPress event in town. A lot of the information coming from this section comes from a book, Everybody Lies by Seth Stevens-Davidowitz. It's a super awesome book if you haven't read it yet. What it's about is he's showcasing like that everybody lies, or at least doesn't tell the whole truth in their everyday life. And he tries to find these truths by utilizing big data, and a lot of it's coming from Google search data. So the first most memorable example in this book about sex is this. So Seth pulled a bunch of survey data and found there's 121 million heterosexual men over the age of 18. They claim they have sex 63 times a year, claim to use a condom 23% of the time, which then would result in 1.7 billion condoms sold a year. There's 128 million heterosexual women in the United States, claim they have sex 55 times a year, claim they use a condom 16% of the time. That would result in 1.1 billion condoms sold a year. So that's a big discrepancy. Who's lying? Everybody, and it's not even close. Nielsen claims that there are 600 million condoms sold a year, and that includes all sexual orientations and all of those tasteful bachelorette party gifts. But what does Google say? Seth then dives into Google search data. Sexless marriage is searched 3.5 times more than unhappy marriage, and sexless relationship is searched more than just about every other relationship topic query. So we know we have to take survey data with a grain of salt. But what about social media data? You can find everything you need to know about your audience through social media, right? So then brings up the Atlantic versus the National Enquirer. Both of these have similar sales data. Both of these have similar number of branded searches in Google, but yet the Atlantic is liked 27 times more on Facebook than the National Enquirer. Why do you think that is? Do people want to paint themselves in a better light? Like, look how awesome I am, I read the Atlantic. Or do people just want to shy away from the fact that they're actually intrigued by the National Enquirer? What's people's incentive to tell the truth in survey data? What's people's incentive to tell the whole truth in social media data? I can relate. Who gets this question on their annual physical every year? How many drinks containing alcohol do you consume a week? Well, I may drink 3 or 4 days a week, Friday, Saturday, and then maybe a weekday or two. But Friday and Saturday, and at this happy hour later, I'm probably not just having 1 drink. So do I lie and say 3 or 4? Or do I tell the truth, which is more often than not 8 or more? What's my incentive to lie? I don't want to be judged by my doctor. But what's my incentive to tell the truth? Probably a better chance of getting a quality diagnosis. We care about how we're perceived by others. We naturally want to upplay the good in our life, and we naturally want to downplay the bad in our life. But what's your incentive to lie to Google? The more honest you are, the more you get what you want, the better results you get. So take this for example. Seth was able to correctly predict the 2016 election results just 3 weeks before Election Day, and he used Google search data to figure it out. He didn't just look up searches for Trump, he didn't just look up searches for Clinton, as that doesn't show intent. A Hillary voter could be searching for information about Trump. But what he did, when 2 candidates are listed, that shows a little more intent. The first candidate listed is more likely the favored candidate and more likely the candidate that search is going to vote for. So Trump versus Clinton debate, more likely searched by a Donald Trump voter. Hillary versus Trump, more likely searched by a Clinton voter. And this theory highly correlated with the previous 2 elections. So Seth used this data and dug in 3 weeks before the 2016 elections and correctly predicted that Donald Trump would be elected president. I know, this guy again. What's the point of all this? All right, the main point being you can't take all data at face value. Confirmation bias is at play. People are pulling data to confirm predetermined theories of theirs. And also, what's people's incentive to tell the truth at the data you're looking at? Where's that survey data coming from? Like, what was everybody's incentive to tell the whole truth? Where's that social media data coming from? What's everybody's incentive to tell the whole truth there? And also, search behavior data is not just for SEOs. It's not just for adding keywords onto your page. You can uncover some valuable insights about your audience and then send them specific content. So make sure you're utilizing the insights about your audience that you can find through keyword research to send them relevant content. So here's an example of a marketing automation series that I was a part of, and it just blew me away. So I got married March 31st, and we immediately left for our honeymoon the next day. We booked our Paris and London honeymoon through one of those vacation package websites that includes everything you need, from hotels to flights to trains to cabs, etc., so on. It's all inclusive. But it was really nerve-wracking because this was both of our first times booking a trip of like this magnitude, and also with the chaos of wedding planning going on and leaving immediately after the wedding, it was kind of nerve-wracking. But the email marketing automation series from this vacation package company really eased a lot of our pain. So right after booking it, I received a confirmation email from the company saying, hey, our team's working on booking all of your flights, hotels, and stuff. Great, thank you. Nothing else I have to do. You're really easing my pain. Then a few days later came the itinerary and all the confirmation numbers. Here's the confirmation number you need for your plane. Here's the confirmation number you need for your hotel. And then here's your itinerary from day 1 to day 7. Everything all in one place. It's perfect, it's easy, it's convenient. Then came documentation and passport information. They sent us all the information we need to know how to get into this country. Do you have a valid passport? If not, here's how you get one, and here's how long it's going to take. Awesome, thank you, vacation package company. And then came recommended ideas. This included a blog about tips and what to do in Paris and London in the springtime. Hey, I'm going to be in Paris and London in the springtime. Awesome, thank you. I was already planning on looking this up, but now I don't have to. And then a few days before we left, they sent us travel tips. This included a blog saying how to remain comfortable on a long flight. Whoa, like I did not even think to look this up, but they already knew my needs. They told me everything I needed to know about getting up, standing, and walking around at some point during a long flight. They bring a pillow, noise-canceling headphones are worth it. I didn't even think to look this up. So why did this blow me away? They anticipated my needs. They used lookalike modeling to send me targeted content. Lookalike modeling being, this user looks like, you look exactly like these other users, they're interested in X, so here's X. And then it was a valuable brand experience. So the final day at 4 a.m., we're trying to get our cab to the airport to leave and come home, but the taxi company was claiming that the vacation booking company didn't actually book the cab. So it caused a lot of drama and a lot of chaos. We ended up getting to the airport fine in time, but it was just a giant pain in the ass. But I had such a valuable experience with the brand, I fully anticipate using this company again for a vacation like this. So how can you use keyword research to send your targeted list relevant content? A really fun free tool to play with is Google Correlate. How this works is you place a keyword into the tool and it shows you other search terms that have a similar pattern. And the coolest thing about it is you can offset it by a few weeks. So in theory, you're figuring out if somebody searches for X, in 2 weeks they may be searching for Y. So I typed in flights to Paris and flights to London into this, and I actually found some really cool results. Week 1 week after searching flights to Paris or flights to London, trip itinerary searches were popping up frequently, and that's just like the email I received. Week 2, for flights to Paris, hiking pants was a common search, and there's a lot of great places to hike in Paris, so let your audience know that. Week 3, car rental information and trips to Iceland were popular search queries. So maybe your audience hasn't quite committed to that trip to London, but they're probably interested in trips to Iceland, so let them know your offerings. Week 4 were a bunch of not safe for work terms for flight to Paris. So if you're playing along at home with your laptop, type in flights to Paris, offset it by 4 weeks, and you'll learn why Paris is a great honeymoon destination. And then after you know you're going to a romantic honeymoon destination, time to book some hotels and use 600 million condoms. All right, so another awesome free tool is Answer the Public. And so you just type in a search term and it produces a bunch of great possible keywords you can use. A bunch of great questions like, where to eat in Paris? Are Paris and Kim still best friends? It produces a lot of great prepositions and comparisons that you can include in your content or send to your list. And bonus points if you have the add-on Keywords Everywhere. That's just an add-on in Google Chrome and Firefox. This will tell you the search volume directly into the platform for all those keywords that are being recommended. And then honorable mention to keywordtool.io. It's similar to Answer the Public. It's another great free tool to use to churn out a bunch of relevant questions. Keyworded, another cool free tool. You just type in a relevant subreddit and it cranks out a bunch of popular topics that people are discussing in this forum. So I went to travel and I found like a bunch of awesome information of what people are talking about in this forum, including travel insurance, long flights, long train rides, and passport issues. People are commonly discussing this in this travel forum. Let your audience know all this information before they even think